Hi, Alan. It's good to see you today. How are you?
Okay, thanks for asking.
Good. Just as a reminder, I am a mandatory reporter, so anything that is discussed between us today does stay between us. However, if you pose a threat to yourself or to others, I do have to escalate that accordingly, okay? So today I just wanted to continue and begin discussing DBT as we established would be the best route for you last session. Do you remember us talking about that?
Yes.
Okay. So I went ahead and I printed out a worksheet for you. This is going to allow you some freedom to express your creativity throughout the session. Whatever that we don't get through, we'll continue with the next session. And then it does have homework for you on the back. Okay. So I have one here for you. And then I have one for myself. And we're just going to go through it together and just kind of take our time going through this to ensure that you can utilize these skills outside of this room. Okay? Alrighty, so go ahead and take a couple moments to briefly skim over it. And if you have any questions before we begin, please let me know, okay?
Okay. Great.
You ready? Okay. So DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. So what comes to mind when you hear the word dialectical? Like what does that word mean?
I would probably say two things that are opposite, however, they hold similarities.
Okay. All right. Sounds like you're on the right track. So dialectical basically means that you have two opposite ideas that can be true at the same time. And within DBT, the main focus of DBT is acceptance and change. So you have the ability to accept what is, but also have the freedom to change. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So any questions before we go into the opening of what we're discussing? No? Okay. So DBT is a branch off of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, and that focuses primarily on thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. Whereas DBT does do that to an extent, however, it focuses more on its own four core skill modules, which is mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotion regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. And this is a way for you to dive into this information yourself. And it all begins with dialectical thinking. Okay, so today we're going to focus on dialectical thinking, what that means, and how to apply it. That way we can move into mindfulness, being mindful, and working through emotion regulation and stress tolerance. Okay? All right. So dialectical thinking, what do you think that means?
I would probably say it's like a method of reasoning, problem resolution, opposing ideas to like arrive at a truth, like to try to essentially bring those ideas together. And even though we have different,
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. It's a great start. So dialectical thinking is having the ability to view situations from multiple perspectives. Again, because you have two opposites that can be a single truth. Okay. Um, the biggest thing that we need to practice today as we create these statements for ourselves is replacing the word but with and. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very simple example, but this is how we can kind of retrain our brain. So, for example, you can say to your significant other, I love you, but I'm angry, right? Now, with DBT and dialectical thinking, you can change that to I love you and I'm angry. So that's still expressing, that you have love for somebody, right? But you're angry at whatever the situation may be. Does that make sense?
okay.
Perfect. Um, so I have a pencil here for you.
Thank
And if there's anything that comes to your mind, whether that's with work, at home, anything that comes to your mind of two opposites that can be true, please take a moment and write it down if you have anything. If not, we can continue working on it to clarify that action. Okay. So let's go through what you have here.
The first one I wrote down is I can be assertive to control the scene and empathetic to de-escalate the person.
Okay, so what are you talking about here? About work?
Yes.
All right. Because I remember you mentioning that you are in law enforcement, correct? Okay, perfect. No, that's a great example. So you have that assertiveness that you're up here, right? And then you're trying to de-escalate a situation, so you're trying to go down this way. So you're going in opposite directions and you're trying to meet in the middle. So that was great. And you used the word and. Okay. Any questions on that?
No.
No? Okay, let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Mhm.
Can be afraid and still act with courage.
Wow. Okay. How do you feel when you wrote that? How did you feel?
It's very vulnerable. Obviously, being a police officer, you're seen as um, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the human aspect gets taken away. However, behind the badge, there's still a person. You know, regardless of me being afraid, I feel like that makes me a human. However, the fact that I'm afraid doesn't necessarily mean that I'm not capable of making the right decisions and acting with courage at the end of the day.
Okay. So do you know what that sounds like to me? You're practicing self-worth. You know that you're capable. You are capable of your job, but you have feelings, and that's okay. And that's kind of the foundation of what we're trying to get through here, is understanding like your feelings and reality, and evaluating your like own self-talk to practice good self-worth. And it does begin with very simple statements like this in order to, again, like I said, address your emotional regulation, which is done um, when you don't even realize it, being mindful and having distress tolerance, which is really important in your line of work. So great job. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else that you want to share?
Yes, I wrote another one.
Okay, go ahead.
I can accept the situation as it is and still work to change it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, you're having that acceptance and then still showing, that route of change.
Right.
So no, that's wonderful. Um, do you have any questions about um, these dialectical thinking examples or these statements? Do you have any questions about it?
Yeah, I would probably say how can I continue to apply this to my everyday life? I know you mentioned the one where I said that I was afraid. You said that shows obviously self-worth. How can I continue? What are things that I can do on my before I go to work, or when I feel stress or when I begin to lose that self-worth? What are exercises that I can do that will bring me back that confidence?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, and again, this kind of therapy definitely isn't like a short term. This is more of a long term practice. But in order to address your question, there are multiple exercises, and it kind of just depends on what's the best fit for you. So it could be something like practicing certain breathing techniques or changing the temperature, like splashing some water on your face if you're feeling anxious, like changing the temperature of your body, going for a run if you're, at a standstill, and if you, of course, if you have the opportunity to do so. But kind of going out of your comfort zone within like an immediate moment, that could help. And I do have some like acronyms that we could follow, and I can give them to you to allow you to do those practices. Um, but that's a great question to go ahead and um, just right off the bat begin with.
Right.
So that to me is already showing that you're very very
Yeah, I mean, I
mindful.
know a lot of times. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but I know I'm confident. However, there's a lot of times where I do begin to lose my self worth. And I think as a person is like, how can I continue to remind myself? How can I reassure that self worth? Whenever I do end up feeling down.
Okay. What do you think that would work best for you?
Um, I would probably say like you said, just the breathing techniques. Whenever you begin to feel, I don't know, you begin to feel down, just something as simple as me breathing or like closing my eyes and reminding myself that I am worth it, that I am capable of doing this job, that I do mean something to somebody, that that there is people at the end of the day waiting for me when I come.
Well, we can definitely address these uh, concerns. The next time we can go ahead and go into further depth. But I thank you so much for your time today and sharing your vulnerability through those statements. And I'll see you next week.